What's up? What's up? What's up, you guys? Come on in the room. Hey, Antonio.
What's up, Mr. Mark?
I'm not gonna ask you. So it seems like I'm supposed to ask you. How you doing today?
Not good.
The thing that you're supposed to say is something what you're supposed to say.
Not good. Ain't nothing bad happened. Just got a lot of moving parts. Appraisal came back 20,000 lower than we expected. Um,
The
the
life
life
of
of an
the
investor.
appraisal.
I mean, the life
Yeah.
that we chose to use
Yeah.
to live, rather.
Absolutely. Welcome you guys to REI Decoded. I'm super excited. My name is Ashley Denmark. This is my handsome husband, Antonio Denmark. We are your real estate coaches. We are your real estate trainers. This group is dedicated to help you get off the sideline and get into the game. We have shared your experiences to where not knowing exactly what the right moves should be as it relates to getting started. And that's why we're here. And it's to help more people just like you, just like me, get off the sideline, get into the game. All right. So come on in. We have a training in store for you today that is near and dear to our heart. A lot of people talk about
Bro, you gotta find you some new words besides near and dear.
first of all, don't talk about my words when you barely talk.
Bro, you gotta find something else, some other words.
But no, we're going to talk about real estate portfolio strategy that people really don't talk about. And it is a way that we have been able to build and grow our portfolio in what seems to be overnight just from using this strategy. All right. Okay. Anything you want to add now? Don't add during my intro.
So let me tell you why I'm messing with her by her near and dear. So like all the trainings that we do, we try to pick the topics that were roadblocks for us at one point in time.
Mhm.
So when we talk about uh hard money, like those were roadblocks. When we talk about refinancing, those were roadblocks. So like we try and pick the topics that had us stuck at one point in time. So that's why I actually love saying near and dear to our heart. But
Because it is.
but it is.
It is. It was a scar at one point. So that's why well, not at one point, it is a scar that we forever remember. So we want to make sure you don't have those same scars that we've had. So that you grow faster. Like there's no reason for us to train you and you still go through the scars and the growing pains that we go through. The whole purpose is for you to get better, do better by learning from an example and not having to go through it on your own. All right. To your comment, you said that it was 20,000 under what you was expecting. Marcus put it was 37,000 for me. And look,
Yeah.
let me say this: it's all about perspective. Because Marcus like 20,000, that's nothing.
I take
You
that.
like 20,000. I can't believe they had the audacity. Absolutely. So it's all about perspective. This business, let me say that it's all about perspective. Okay, we went this weekend before we get in. We went this weekend to support one of Tonio's close friends and two of his old football players that went into the Hall of Fame for one of their for the what would you say coaching program?
The training program.
Training program. And we went there just to kind of have fun, but show our love and support. But while we were there, the trainer said something and it blew my mind. He said nobody gets 100% of everything they want out of life. A lot of times we look at our situation and we look at what we're going through and we look at someone else's and we're like, man, if I could have just had the the things that they had, I'll be a lot further. No, they're not getting what they want out of life either. Okay. So just like you feel like you're not getting everything you want out of life, they're not either. And that's exactly how it's designed. You're not gonna get every single thing that you want, but that should encourage you to, for one, not look at others, but for two, to strive and be your best every time and use those scars as lessons to help you get further.
As
Right.
an entrepreneur, the best entrepreneurs have the ability to take lemons and make lemonade.
Mhm.
So like that's a constant thing with the best entrepreneurs. If things don't go right, they adjust quickly.
Mhm.
Like, yes, they might think about it, they might process it, but it's not a long processing period. It's
Mhm.
all right, this happened, now I gotta do this. So understand that being an entrepreneur is constantly making decisions, it's constantly thinking through things, it's constantly adjusting. So to what she was saying, like, yeah, like you ain't gonna have everything you want. You just gotta make do with what you got.
Yeah. And be okay with it. All right. Be okay with it. I think that's the most important thing. Be okay with it. Don't let it lessen your spirits. Like you took the hit. All right, get up and let's go to the next play. Let's go to the next move. What's up, y'all? I see y'all. What's up, Karen? What's
Sharita.
up, Sharita? Hey, Stanley. Hey, Daryl. Hey,
Daryl.
Miss Woods. What's up, Keisha? What's up, Miss King? Hey, Christy. Hey, Thomas. Hey, Lawanda. Hey, Sean. Hey, Sap. I said, hey, Marcus, if I didn't. Hey, Marcus. Hey, Emmy. Hey, Mr. Woods. Hey, Eric. If I missed anyone,
You
hey,
ain't say
y'all.
that name. You can't say that
I
name,
couldn't.
right?
This why I said, hey, y'all. Hey, y'all.
I would love to know how to pronounce it though. Go try,
Yo.
go try to pronounce it.
Adusi. Hey, Adusi. Hey, Kelvin. All right. Sonia, what are we training about today? What is today's training on?
Today's training is on BRRRR. All right. And
BRRRR is a strategy that people don't really talk about that often.
yes, it is a strategy that a lot of big hedge funds use. It is a strategy that a lot of people don't really talk about in this investing game. They always talking about flip, 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 flip. They always talking about rent as far as going directly into DSCR loans for long terms. But nobody really talks about BRRRR and nobody really explains it to where people can kind of understand it.
Yeah. I think that most people when they hear BRRRR and if their mind is already set on flipping, then they're like, nah, I'm straight. Like I don't want to do that. I'd rather get this quick money first. But they don't realize that in real estate, we're not playing the short game, we're playing the long game. And when we go after that short money, later we are like devastated, like, dang, we didn't make as much money as we thought we were gonna make because we were forcing ourselves to flip when BRRRR, this strategy right here could have been your best strategy, but because you didn't understand it fully, you didn't know what to do, you left money on the table that really could have changed. You left equity on the table that really could have changed things. So I'm excited to jump into it. I want to first start talking about what is BRRRR and what does it stand for. One of my students used to say, you remember what she used to call it? The BRRRR strategy. So it's not the BRRRR strategy, but it's BRRRR. So
there's an acronym.
It's an acronym, all right?
B
Stands for buy.
R
Stands for rehab.
R
The second R stands for renting it.
R
Refinance it.
R.
Repeat the strategy.
All right, so we just say BRRRR. That's what we mean.
That's exactly what we mean.
What it is? 4 R's.
That is 4 R's.
So
we're
it's
buying
a B and 4 R's.
Yeah, we're buying it. We're gonna rehab it. We're gonna stabilize it by putting a renter in place. We're gonna refinance it and pay off our first lenders, and then we're gonna repeat the process. All right, BRRRR. Hey, Miss Lighthouse Johnson. I have been missing and thinking about you. All right, Tonya, let's jump into it. All right. When we are buying, what criteria do you like to be around when we are purchasing the property?
When I'm personally buying property that I'm a BRRRR, I like to be at about 65%. All right. The max is 70. All right.
When you say 70, what you mean? Or 65, what you mean?
I mean that I'm going to take the after repair value, which is what we call the ARV. I'm going to times that by 65%. and I want my purchase and my rehab to be at that 65% mark. So easy numbers to understand. If the ARV is $100,000 and I want to buy at 65%, then I want my purchase and my rehab to equal $65,000. So I can have a purchase of 50 and a rehab of 15. Or I can have a purchase of 40 and a rehab of 25. But I'm not trying to go over 65%. And the reason is, I'm going to jump ahead, but I'm going to come back.
Okay.
The toughest part of the BRRRR process is the refinance. Like it's easier to find properties. It's easy to manage that rehab, but that refinance process is the hardest part. And because when you're refinancing, the max that they'll give you on a refinance with the hard money lender is 75%. So if I buy and rehab at 65% and I refinance at 75%, that gives me a 10% cushion so that if anything goes wrong, if anything don't come back like I want, I still have room. So I can't buy it at 75% and then go to refinance at 75% because we'll be bringing money to the table.
All right, y'all got that? Now, at any time, you guys, I want you to type in the chat if you have questions. I don't want you to leave this training and have unanswered questions. I also, if you are watching it live today, I want you to put live in the comments so that way we know that you are watching it
y'all
live.
Been doing a really good job of that.
You have been doing a really good job there. And if you are watching this as a replay, make sure you put replay in the chat. All right. And so we want to buy at 65%. Our max is 70% of our after repair value. That means we shouldn't be buying it at 71% or 72%, right? Should we be buying it at 71, 72%? It's a deal. Like we feel like we just offer a little bit more.
I wouldn't buy it. I will stick to my numbers.
Okay. Because if you buy it at 71, 72%, you're going to mess around, and when it's time to refinance, or if you go over your budget, you're going to have to come to the table, to the closing table, potentially with money instead of you getting your money back. But we're going to talk about it a little bit more in detail. Thank you, guys. I see y'all in the chat. I see y'all. All right, so let's talk about the rehab. On the rehab, it is so important to stick to your numbers. All right, it's important to know what your numbers are and to stick to them. If you find out that you are trending to go over, you should immediately make some adjustments in your budget so that you stay as close to your budget as possible. All right. I understand that things happen. It's real estate, so things are going to happen. But we want to take our emotions out and we want to stick to our rehab numbers. All right. The moment we go over our rehab number, that hurts us when it comes to the third R. All right. That hurts us when it comes to the third R, and that's refinancing. So our rehab is just as important as making sure we buy it right. All right. Buying it right is important, but the rehab is just as important because you can buy it right and go over your rehab and mess up the entire deal.
All right. So keep in mind, this is not a retail rehab. All right, you gotta keep that in mind. What makes the BRRRR strategy so good is that you don't have to necessarily do a retail rehab in order to get your full value on your appraisal. And when I say retail rehab, meaning we're not going to always replace cabinets. We're not going to always put a brand new roof on it. We're not going to always put a brand new HVAC in it. Like those are retail things that when you are flipping, you kind of got to do those things for the most part if your numbers tell you, because you're being compared to other flip properties. But when you are burning the property, that leaves you a little more room so that you're like in the middle of a rental rehab and a retail rehab. You're like in the middle. Like I still want to update the floor plan. I still open the floor plan up. I still want to put granite countertops in. I still want to update the bathroom. So like I want to give it a retail feel without necessarily spending all the money that it takes to get to a retail state.
Yeah, and understand when you're doing this, you're not going to have a brand new house. All right. It is impossible to do this business and do it at scale. Do it multiple times if you do every single nook and cranny in the house. All right.
And I disagree, Ash.
Okay.
You can do it. It doesn't mean you're gonna make no money.
That oh yeah, now that's it.
You can do it. You
And
can
then-
touch plumbing, electrical, HVAC, roof. You can touch everything.
You can.
That does not mean you're gonna make
New
money doing it.
New drywall, you can. But and if I'm y'all tell me, are y'all in this business to make money or are you just in this business to spend money? Put it in the chat. Make money or spend money?
Make money or spend money. Make money, 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 make money.
Some
money.
days I feel like I'm in this thing to spend money. Like Antonio tell me, all I want to do is unbox.
Oh boy.
Unbox a new fixture, unbox a new light. Make money or spend money. Y'all tell me in the chat. Are y'all in this business to make money or spend money? And it's not a trick answer. It's for real.
She said it's not a trick.
It's not a trick
It's not a
answer.
trick question.
It's not a trick question, yeah.
All right, come on.
Okay, I see you, Wood.
Make money.
Okay. Wood's the only one that want to make money today, huh? Oh, I see you, Amy. Okay. Okay, stranger. Okay. Absolutely, y'all. So we are in this business to make money, all right? So we want to make sure our emotions are taken out of it. We want to make sure we stick to our numbers. We want to make sure we do the things that need to be done, all right? And that is anything that's a hazard. You want to make sure your hazards are done. Anything that is, what is it called? The hazard that I'm talking about? Safety hazards issues. You want to make sure those get done. And then everything else, they're like secondary, all right? You might not have to paint the exterior if it's brick. It may be fine with a good pressure washing if it keeps you on budget. So just think, and maybe you just replace the front door. Like there's different things that you can do to stay on budget, but you gotta be willing to adjust. Be willing to do the things that you have to do. Listen, they talking about show me the money. If I don't make money, if it don't make money, it don't make sense. I hear you, girl. Absolutely, absolutely. So let's make sure that emotions are taken away out of it because that's what we're here to do. We're here to make money, not just spend money, just because it feels good. We want it to be the prettiest house on the block. We want to show everybody what we did. Like at the end of the day, we want to make money. All right.
The third R is the third R or the second R?
This is the second R.
The second R is rent. All right. And this is where a lot of people get confused.
Okay.
All right. And what I mean by confused is in the investing world, they come up with all these nice terms that really sound elegant and really top of the moon type things, but it's basic stuff, y'all. So this is where DSCR comes into play. So I'm sure you've heard of a DSCR loan, or you've heard of a 30-year loan, or you've heard of a rental loan. Yeah, all them things are the same.
All of them are the same. So let's talk about what DSCR stands for. That is your debt service coverage ratio. All right. A whole bunch of unnecessary words put together. Debt service coverage ratio, all to say you are renting out this property long term.
And how much cash flow are you getting?
Are you making money or are you spending money? Like we back to it. Are you making money or are you spending money?
And understand, don't get so caught up on this DSCR. All right. So I'm gonna show you how to calculate it. And once you know how to calculate it, you kind of move on from there. All right. So the calculations is lenders like to see a 1.2 DSCR. All right. And how you calculate it is, I gotta make sure I put it the right way because I'm messing up.
And as you guys are getting ready to do, as Antonio's practicing his calculations, you want to make, they call it 1 to 2, but that means 1.2. All right. When you do your calculations, another fancy phrase that they like to do to make themselves sound real smart, but we're gonna keep this as simple as possible.
All right. So only thing you gotta do is you gotta take your rent. That's how much money you're getting paid. Whether that's a Section 8 tenant, whether that's a regular tenant, however you're getting paid.
However you're renting.
All right. Let's say the rent is $1,200. You're gonna take your rent and you're going to divide it by your monthly expenses. All right, mainly your mortgage payment. All right, so
unless you have HOA fees, you got a whole bunch of different fees, or you're including like trash and water, those are all your expenses. All right. Typically, it's just your mortgage. But if you have all these extra expenses that you are paying for as the landlord, then all of that needs to be added into it. All
and
right.
I think it's key that you say that you are paying for it.
That you are paying
So,
for.
like, if the tenant is paying for their own power bill, then that's not a part of your
That's not your expenses.
But if you are paying the power bill, it can get added as an expense into your DSCR.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so make sure that little nugget is understood. So we do $1,200. I'm gonna just say we got a Section 8 property. We renting it for $1,200, and our mortgage payment is $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll do $1,200 divided by $1,000. All right, tell me, what does that give us?
Type it in chat. What does that give you? 1,200 divided by 1,000. 1,200 divided by 1,000. What does that give you?
And you got to practice this stuff.
Yeah.
Because what happens is you get off this training and you go and you say, I'm going to do a DSCR loan. And you be like, now, how the hell I calculate this thing again? Because you ain't never did it.
And you're
so
trying to figure out, like, surely I'm cash flowing just because I'm making $300 a month. That means I'm cash flowing. But you didn't do the calculation to see if you met the 1.2 DSCR.
Yep.
All right. So we're doing 1,200
divided by 1,000.
Divided by 1,000.
And it's important the order you do it in. You can't do 1,000 divided by 1,200. That's why I get my calculator every time to make sure I tell you right. It's got to be the rent divided by the expenses. So, Amy.
I see you, Amy. Amy's the only one so far. Let me see.
One more.
I'll make sure you guys understand it. Okay. Amy, you are right. It's 1.2. So that's 1,200 divided by 1,000 gives you, yep, Karen, 1.2. That is your DSCR.
So understand that when you are dealing with the DSCR loan, the higher that number, the better rate in terms that you get on your loan. Mm-hmm. There are some lenders who do like a 1-to-1, all right, but not a lot of them. Most lenders like for it to be a 1.2 or higher before going into a DSCR loan. All right. So that's why you got to rent that property so that you can calculate that DSCR. And that's kind of how you know how much to rent the property for on the front end, so you know what it needs to look like on the back end.
Absolutely. Always reverse engineer to make sure you're going to get what you need. All right. Let's do one more example. So in this example, we're basically making $200 cash flow. In the 1,200 divided by 1,000, we're making a $200 cash flow. And the lender for this feels like that's a good cash flow for how much we're receiving. Let's do rent is $2,000. Mortgage is $1,700. On this one, we're getting $300 more. What's that DSCR? I said 2,000 divided by 1,700.
1,700.
All right. 2,000 divided by 1,700. What's that? All right. So 2,000 is how much we are getting in rent, and 1,700 is our expenses. In this 1,700, I'm paying for. Ooh, okay. This 1,700, I'm paying for trash pickup.
Hold up, bro. You can't.
I can't add that in there.
You can't just throw that in there. It's too late to throw something else in.
Okay.
All right. I see a 1.18.
I see a 1.8, a 1.76, and a 1.76.
Okay. All right. So the closest person was the 1.18.
Yes.
All right.
Keisha, good job.
So the correct number is 1.176. Da, 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 da. So what you want to do is that 1.1 is the main number. All right. So if you go 1.17 round up, but you got to remember 1.2 changes things. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, this would be a 1.17, 1.18. I'm fine with that. So understand that at 1.18, you're not going to get the best terms and rates that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now you still might can refinance, but understand that you're not getting the best. And keep in mind a different scenario. Just because you was getting $200 cash flow on that first deal, you thought that this deal would be better because you was getting $300 cash flow. No, it don't work like that. That's why they kind of use the DSCR so that you can compare properties no matter how high you go in value or how high low you go.
Right.
You can compare, is this a good deal or not based on the DSCR.
Mm-hmm. And then make sure your order of operation is also important. So make sure you did 2,000 divided by 1,700 so you can get to the 1.1766.
Yep. So
right.
Understand that it's not 1. What we had 1.7.
We have 1.7. We have
1. So it won't be 1.7. A 1.7 DSCR would be super high. All right. So the answer was 1.176, and you can leave the 6 off just to 1.17 or 1.18.
Mm-hmm. All right. Y'all got that? If y'all got that, got me in the chat.
And it's important to practice this stuff, y'all. Like this stuff just don't fall out the sky. All
right. As y'all are typing in, got me in the chat. Let me. Okay. They said they saw it, but they missed the one in front.
Okay.
Well, good stuff.
Great stuff.
The next R. So we got buy it, B. We got rehab it, R. We got rent it. That's our second R. Our third R is refinance. All right. So once we got that renter in and the property is stabilized, we're cash flowing according to the DSCR. All right. Now we can go in from a refinance.
Man, but I tell y'all, I did not understand what a refinance was for so long.
For a very long time.
I did not understand. It just did not make sense to me why anybody would refinance on the house. Knowing that when you refinance, you start your loan all the way over. It did not make sense. But I'm going to help break it down to you to where it does make sense. And you don't got to be like me waiting years to refinance because you didn't understand. All right. So one of the reasons that you refinance is to pay off your other lenders. All right. So if you have multiple lenders on a property, you can refinance and pay those lenders off and have one mortgage payment. All right. Another reason you'll refinance is if you have a short-term loan and you want to refinance into a long-term loan.
Right.
All right. So you're going to pay that first lender off. That's your short-term lender. You're going to get into a long-term loan. Another reason that you'll refinance, which is more common for people in their personal houses, is interest rates go down. Mm-hmm. So you can refinance and lower your payment, but you will start your loan over. Like, I don't really recommend that option. I would rather get a second HELOC or something of that nature. I don't like starting a loan over because in 30-year loans, the first 7 years is heavy interest. Mm-hmm. So understand that when you start over, your principal isn't going down a lot. It's a lot going towards interest. Mm-hmm. So it's super important that you understand when to refinance and when not to refinance and when it can be used for your benefit. Mm-hmm. All right.
So there's two different types of refinances that are real common in the investor world. And that is a cash out refinance, and that's where you get money back. And a rate and term refinance, and that's when you roll everything into the new loan. All right. they each have their own place when it comes to it. All right. So if you are doing a cash out refinance, then you are projecting that your property is going to appraise for at least that 75% or higher of that ARV that we talked about, where it's going to, your loan, come on, help me because I just messed it up. Your loan, whatever that ARV was from the front end, you're hoping that you reach that when it's time to refinance, that your ARV is still the same when that appraisal comes out. All right. They are going to do 75% of that ARV. So, for example, if you are projecting it to be $100,000, the appraiser comes out and it is, they say, you know what? Yes, this is $100,000 or higher. Then the lender is going to say, all right, we at this $100,000. We're going to times that by 75%. The most that we're going to be able to lend is $75,000 on this new loan. You want to make sure that you bought at 65% purchase and rehab. So now you have cushion to where you're getting a cash out on your refinance. You're not leaving money in or bringing money to the table. All right.
So with the rate and term refinance, that means that you're not getting cash back. All right. So a rate and term refinance means that I can potentially use some of my equity to pay the closing costs, but I don't want any money in my pocket. All right. Those are two big things to lenders. When the crash happened back in 2007 and 8, a lot of people was doing cash out refinancing and they was getting $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 cash back from the closing table and just walking away from the property.
Yeah.
So like lenders really don't like doing a cash out refinance. They prefer to do rate and term refinance because in their eyes, you still have money invested into the property. You're not just going to walk away from it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. With the rate and term refinance, usually you get better interest rates and you can potentially get better terms on a rate and term refinance. On a cash out refinance, they're going to really charge you more money for the cash out.
Yeah. It's like a cash advance on your credit card. If you do a cash advance on your credit card, just know that it's going to cost you to get that cash advance versus just using your credit card. All right. Same thing when they're giving cash out, it's going to cost you a little bit more. All right. Things that the lenders are looking for when it comes to doing a refinance, they want to make sure that you have some money in the bank. And I know you like Ash, like, what if I just used all my money during the rehab? Well, you got to save some of that money. You're going to need to put some money in the bank. All right. When you know it's time that you get ready to refi, you got to make sure those last two bank statements look good. All right. You got to have some money in the bank. Then they want to make sure that your credit score is decent when it comes to doing a 30-year rental loan. They want to make sure that you have pretty decent credit. If you have a 660 or higher, you're going to get better terms. If it's lower, you're not going to get as good terms. All right.
But do we have options to where you can refinance?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, we do. It's just not going to be favorable interest rates. It's not going to be favorable points for you. But will they do it? Absolutely.
Especially if they consider it a deal. They consider that you got equity in the property. They consider it worth them investing in. They'll absolutely do it. It also has to have your LLC docs. All right. Just like in the fix and flip loan, when you refinance, it can't be in your personal name. It must be in your LLC. They will not lend to an individual, but they will lend to an LLC. All right. The DSCR, the debt service coverage ratio, must be greater than a 1.2
for the best term.
For the best terms.
Now, if it's lower than that, just expect to either get a higher interest rate or pay more points or something of that nature. So like the things that we outline are how you can go and get the best rate in terms or interest rates or points on your loan. Is there exceptions? Is there deans for not having the right DSCR? Is there deans for not having the right credit? Is there deans for having a vacant property? Yes. But that doesn't mean you can't do it.
Right? That doesn't exclude you from being able to do it. And that's really what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to be like, oh, well, I don't meet this one area and then quit. All right. Don't quit. Whatever you do, don't quit. They prefer it to be tenant occupied. They prefer it to be rented. They prefer it to be actually cash flowing and not your projected what you feel like the cash flow is going to be. If you don't have a renter in place, then what they'll do on the appraisal is they'll take the average rents of the area that the appraiser gives them and say that this is what your DSCR is. Sometimes that can be higher than what you were planning on renting it. Most of the times it's not as high. All right. So if it's rented, the better. If it's not, then you have to go by what the appraiser says the average rents are in the area.
And in order to use what your tenant has been paying, you got to have at least 3 months of documented payments. So if you've been renting your house for $1,500 for 6 months, and the appraisal does an appraisal, you say, hey, this is a $1,300 area. It won't matter as long as you got documents that show you've been renting it for $1,500. They'll use that $1,500 as your DSCR number.
Mm-hmm. Next R is my favorite R. Repeat the process. Get your money from your refinance, do your cash out, get your initial investment back, and then go do it again and do it again. If you do this 4 times in a year, by the end of the year, and that's one property part-time, doing one property a quarter, you'll have 4 houses by the end of the year.
One thing I do want to make sure I say is that for the most part, you can't go to traditional lenders and if you want to do 4 a year, you can't go to traditional lenders because with the traditional lenders, they have a seasoning period. What a seasoning period means is how long have you owned this property? For most traditional lenders and credit unions, it's going to either be 6 months, more likely a year before you can refinance on that property. But that's why we like dealing with the hard money world, because as long as you have that property for 90 days, you can refinance at full market value. Mm-hmm. So you don't got to wait a seasoning period of 6 months to a year before you can get your money back.
Mm-hmm. And that allows you to keep turning your money, keep turning it, and building your portfolio simultaneously. All right. When we do it, this is the Denmark's way. This is how the Denmarks do it. We're going to buy the property using hard money. We're going to get into it with the fix and flip loan. And then we're going to rehab it. We're going to stay in our budget. We're making sure we're buying the property, like Antonio said earlier, at 65%, which means we're going to put down between 15 and 20K to purchase it. We want to refinance it, get that 15 and 20K back, put a stabilized tenant buyer in place is how we like to do it. And then rinse and repeat that cycle over and over and over again.
Yep.
The moment this clicked for us, we were buying rental properties and we were buying 1 a year, maybe 2 a year at max. The moment this clicked for us, we went from having 12 properties in what was that, 7 years to 7 years? To doing 10 a year because this clicked.
Yep.
It clicked. We understood how to get our initial investment back and do it again.
So when we first started, we was buying low-end rental properties. And our idea was we could be all in for 10, 15,000. We was good. But what we realized was we can take that $10,000 or $15,000 and do the BRRRR method and have a better product.
A better house.
And we can have a better tenant.
Mm-hmm.
So when we was doing them low-end properties, like, yes, on paper, it looks absolutely amazing. But at the same time, when you are dealing in lower-end properties, you get lower-end problems too.
Well, you get high problems. You get lots of problems. The frequency was higher when it came to problems.
Yeah, you twist them words, right?
I did. You didn't catch up. So we had more problems because it needed more repairs because they were lower end and we were trying to stay at a max.
Yeah.
So on paper, it looked like we had deals, but when it came to repairs, we were spending a lot of money in repair costs for those lower end houses over the years. Yep. And it ate into our profit a lot. Like, we thought we were making money, but then when we looked at our expenses, our repairs for the year, we was really losing money in the process.
Yeah. So like we was like, all right, let's take that. At this point in time, we was just kind of getting into the finance world. Let's take that same, let's say $15,000. Let's buy a property. Let's do the BRRRR method on it. Let's refinance. Let's get our money back, and let's put a tenant in at that point in time. So now we got our $15,000 back. When we was doing the low end rental properties, it was taking us about 2 years to get our money back. Like that still was good, but with the BRRRR process, it was taking us 90 days, 120 days to get our initial investment back, and everything we making from that point was profit.
Mm-hmm.
So that changed how we looked at real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't, for us, we was never really big flip people. Like we always understood that real estate was a long-term thing.
Mm-hmm. So things that we are, okay, let me explain that 90-day turnaround again. So when we say 90 days, if you go to a traditional lender, if you go to Wells Fargo, if you go to the credit unions, and you are asking to refinance out of your fix and flip loan into a 30-year loan, then they're going to require what's called seasoning. And that is the amount of time that you have owned it. They want to know how long have you owned this before you pull out this max value. Most of the time, they're going to ask you for 6 months to a year of seasoning, depending on the lender. Meaning you have to have owned this property for 6 months or from 6 months to a year in order for you to get max value. They may refinance, but they may not refinance at max value if it's under that 6 month threshold, all right? Or under that year threshold, depending on the lender. So they want to know how long have you had it before we give you full value. When you are doing real estate funding, all right, when you're working with Dennos funding and you're using real estate funding, then we only need 3 months. All right. We only need you to own the house for 3 months before you can refinance at full market value, meaning how much this house is worth because you renovated, you did that rehab, that second R. How much is it worth at that point? Got it? Okay. So what type of properties are we looking for? We are looking for distressed properties, all right, in pretty good areas that have quite a few comps. We want to be in between an ARV of 120 to 180,000. That is our goal.
In Birmingham, like that's that sweet spot where your DSCR is always want to hit where it need to be hit, where you got enough comps to get your ARV where it need to be. In Birmingham, that's that sweet spot. So wherever you are, make sure you find out where first-time home buyers buy.
Mm-hmm.
Like not the high-end areas, not the low-end areas. It's right there. It's a sweet spot. And every zip code, every city is going to have about 3 or 4 zip codes that fits that model to a T.
To a T. Absolutely. All right. So it's very hard to refinance with land because the value isn't there. Mm-hmm. All right. Someone asks, can that also work with land only? It's very hard because there's not enough value on that land. Like you have to do something to improve the value in order to refinance. And most lenders don't like to finance land.
Yeah, I don't know any lenders who will just finance land.
Yeah.
So that will hurt that BRRRR process when it comes to land. Is you got to find a lender who just finance the land. I don't know one of those lenders.
Yeah, you actually got to build on it first and then refinance.
Yeah. Now, if you're talking about building, that's a different story because you're going to get a construction loan at that point to build on the land. So if you buy the land cash and turn around and get a new construction loan, you can do that. Mm-hmm. But it won't necessarily be the BRRRR process because you really won't get money back from that new construction loan.
Mm-hmm. All right. Which range, Nakia? So yeah, if you build a house on the land and there's still equity in it, then yes, you will be able to refinance.
Yes.
But it has to have equity in it after you build it.
Yeah. So just picture this. If you can build the house, the house or building for 65% of what the projected after repair value is, the principal stay the same. When you go to refinance, it's going to be 75%. All right. So the foundations are so important, and people make it confusing to new construction or commercial buildings or multifamily. A lot of times the foundations stay the same. You're going to buy it for a certain percentage. You're going to do what you got to do to add value to it. Then you're going to turn around and refinance it.
Mm-hmm. So Nakia said, what's the sweet spot? The sweet spot
in Birmingham, that sweet spot is 120 to 180. That's that sweet spot in Birmingham for BRRRR properties. Like we just did a BRRRR in Midfield. The ARV was 150. But we didn't have no issues with our rent because I think we rented it for $1,300. We didn't have any issues with the ARV because there was some comps in the area. So like that, we just did one in Midfield that was like 150.
All right. Yeah, the kid, I'm not feeling good.
Antonio, be playing us. His sister gone, so he want to get up out of school.
Well, we're not going to chance it. All right. Any other questions, you guys? So you want to talk about putting it all together?
You got it.
All right. Which I feel like I said it, but I just want to make sure. I want to make sure you guys get it. We're gonna buy it.
So let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Let's hypothetically say we got $15,000. It can be business funding. It can be a personal loan. It can be a gap lender. Where the 15 come from, we ain't stressing about that right now. We talk about that and after that funding tool. But let's say we got access to 15,000 401k. We got access to $15,000. We're gonna take that $15,000 and buy the property and get it rehab. Because remember, for fix and flip loans, if you don't know, they give you the money to buy it and the money to rehab. All right. So once we buy it, rehab it, we're gonna rent it. Now we're going to refinance. When I refinance, in an ideal world, I want to pull that $15,000 that I initially put down. I want to pull that out and put it back in my pocket. And now I want to have a cash flowing asset with none of my own money in it. All right. And now we're going to take that $15,000, repeat the process. Every 90 days, we buying and refinance. We buying and refinance. All right.
And so at the end of the year, you should have 4 properties that you have purchased, refinanced, and you're doing it again. So now you go from having 4 properties to 8 properties. And then by the time you get to 8 properties, you should be doing 2 at a time. All right. So then you got 16 properties. All right. It starts to build itself up in as little as 1 to 3 years. Like there's going to be a huge growth on building that portfolio versus doing 1 or 2 a year.
And you might not get rich from them 8 properties. Like,
right.
But the key is, this is the key. You're building your passive income. The tenant is paying down your principal balance. Most of the time you're getting appreciation. So like you're creating equity in these houses. So over time, you're going to look up 5 years. We're like, whoa, I got $1 million in equity.
In equity, not in loans, in equity.
In equity. So like, because once that principal start getting paid down, it's all good from them.
Absolutely. So make sure that you are you are tracking it, first of all, so that you know what you have. But most importantly, just do it. All right. Don't overdo the process. Stick to the process. Do it. Stop being scared. Get off the sidelines. Because the quicker you do it, the quicker you start building up that portfolio. Like Antonio said, before you know it, you have more equity than you even.
Yep. But you got to start though. You got to. It's just one after another, one after another, one after another, and don't get caught up on the cash flow. You might make $200-$300 a profit. That's cool. We're not necessarily,
because there will be one where you may get $500 or $600. So just know that, like Antonio always says, all of them are home runs, but just keep getting base hits because that's what's gonna grow you That's what's going to build that portfolio. That's what's going to help you lead that 9 to 5 and create that legacy. Ooh, Keisha, you just loaded me up.
What you got?
She said, so the property that we have will refinance as the exit strategy if it doesn't sell within a certain time frame, right? And start the process over again. Bingo.
Bingo. That's it.
Bingo.
That's it. And like what we like to teach is let's do the project. Let's put it on the market. If we get a buyer,
that's a plus.
It's great. You know what I'm saying? Make sure everything lines up. It's great. But if we got to refinance and keep it, it's not bad.
Right.
Like
that's actually great.
If you ask us, we're gonna always try to refinance and keep it because we understand that real estate just goes up. We lease optioned a house to a lady probably about 4 years ago, to a couple rather. I think we sold it to them for $160.
They literally just sold the house. It looked the same way it did when we gave it to them as the lease option for
$230.
$230.
Like
appreciation.
It like that's real estate, y'all. Listen to Mr. Duru on Facebook. If y'all know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But he's an investor, and he was saying he sold the house for $140,000 because it was in front of a bus stop. But since he sold it, they came and built 2 brand new houses next to it, to where that property has went up to $300,000 because of the things that's going on in the area. So understand, like, buy this real estate, hold it. It can change your life.
It can change your life. Absolutely, absolutely. All right. What you want to give them today, Christine?
I don't know. What my post said. I ain't said nothing. What you got? What they want? What you gonna give them?
That's not what you gonna give them. That video.
Michael Jordan, baby. I don't know.
You gotta give them something.
What you want? You going back to DSCR calculator for them?
That's what we'll do. The DSCR calculator.
Right, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna give y'all a copy of our DSCR calculator. So if you want a copy of it, just put DSCR in the chat, and we'll send y'all a copy of the calculator. That'll help you
so that you don't put it in the wrong order.
Put it in the wrong order.
We'll tell you what to put in which order, and then it'll calculate it. So all you gotta do is plug in. You'll plug in your mortgage, you'll plug in your expenses, and you'll plug in what you're getting in rent so that you can calculate it seamlessly so that you can know exactly what you need to rent your property for so that you can get the max value from a DSCR. I see y'all already.
All right, boom.
Bam.
Got it.
All right. Love y'all. See y'all next week.
People that's in the Birmingham area, June 11th.
Mark your calendars.
Well,
June 11th.
You made a nice whole flyer. You ain't even put it out yet. We got a property walkthrough on June 4th. We got a meetup on June 11th. We got a dynamic funding tour on June 21st.
Yeah.
21st.
21st.
So like we are loaded with in-person events. Man, y'all come out, spend some time with us, shake our hands, show us some love.
We would love to see you. All right. Love y'all. Peace.
Can I do that extra piece like that? Oh.